Hello there. Welcome to another episode of the Change Your Minds podcast. I'm Owen Fitzpatrick. And today I'm going to talk to you about 9 tiny shifts that you can make that will change your life in 1 year. And isn't it the perfect timing? Because in a few weeks, we are, of course, going to be going into the future, into 2024. I don't know about you, but I always think about 2024 as being way out there in the future, even though it is just around the corner. But over the course of this particular episode, what I want to do is offer you 9 different tips and strategies, which I'm sure a number of them you won't have heard before, that can help you to make next year count. I want to make it so that I offer you some ideas that you'll be able to use, small shifts, small changes that you can use, that by doing so, they will compound and they will make certain areas of your life unrecognizable by the end of the day. Now, as always, I want to remind you, if you are looking to be able to invest in yourself and prioritize yourself, please do consider joining the Changing Minds monthly membership program, where every month I go live for 90 minutes teaching you on an area of personal and professional development. There's also a number of courses such as Sleep School, Love School, Happiness School, Confidence School, Communication Skill, Motivation School. There's just a whole host of different types of courses in there as well that are 2 to 3 hours each. And also check out the Change Your Mind store if you're not ready for the membership, but you want to learn what's in some of those schools and get yourself sorted in some area of life, whether that's helping you improve the quality of your sleep, to be able to change your habits more successfully with Habit School, for example, improve your focus with Focus School. I'm telling you, loads of stuff there. So if you go to changeyourminds.com/store or owenfitzpatrick.com/store, you'll get straight to the store. And if you go owenfitzpatrick.com/monthly, you'll go straight through to Changing Minds monthly. So I hope you'll consider joining and start the new year with me and with the rest of the amazing community that we have. You can also, if you're looking for a newsletter, an email that gives you something to think differently of every single week, I have, of course, my Inner Propaganda newsletter, which comes out weekly and packed full of content inside of an article that I write for you to help you to make a change in your mind about some specific way of thinking, and always very practical and actionable. Anyway, enough of that. For now, I want to talk to you about the tiny shifts. I'm going to start off with what I call dopamine spoilers. Number 1 is dopamine spoilers, setting up some dopamine spoilers for yourself. What does this mean? A lot of the bad habits that we engage in, the kinds of things that we do that we know we shouldn't do, or we're not supposed to do, or we prefer to avoid doing, are what we call something reinforced by the chemical dopamine. Dopamine is the motivation molecule. It drives us to keep taking action to pursue a particular goal. And oftentimes what happens is that whenever we're engaging in bad habits, our brain is motivating us to try to do it because we get something out of it, whatever that something is. Dopamine spoilers means organizing yourself so the kinds of temptations that once upon a time gave you dopamine no longer do. So let me give you an example of this. One simple shift that I made that helped transform the way I was eating in the evening was that every evening, directly after dinner, so right after I finished my main course, I would go and do my old brushing my teeth, flossing, brushing your teeth, all this sort of stuff that you would typically do. But I did it immediately after my main course. As soon as I did that, I no longer craved dessert. And so even though usually, obviously before bed or after the full-on meal, I might elect to, of course, go and brush my teeth. Doing it straight after the main course changed the way in which I was feeling at that moment in time, because now I canceled the positive feeling that I would have gotten from craving that dessert. So the dopamine that was driving me to want more of that dessert no longer was successfully driving me, because I changed the environment and made it so it no longer was triggered in the same way. Something else that helps you is when you're trying to organize, for example, a dopamine spoiler, you're looking for anything that you can put in your way to make there be more friction with regards to something that's a bad habit. So the more difficult you can make something that used to be a habit that you engaged in that isn't good for you, the more difficult it can be, the harder it is, the more steps there are, the more what you're doing is you're playing around and messing with this dopamine chemical release. And as a result of that, the craving will start to subside. So actively think about any of the habits you want to get out of, any of the bad habits that you want to eliminate, and ask yourself the question, How can I reduce the likelihood of me craving this, of me desiring this? This is what we call dopamine spoiling. The second tiny shift that will make a big difference to your life is so simple. You're going to hate me for saying it. It's obviously something you will have heard of before, but it's one of the things that has made the biggest difference to my overall mental and physical health over the last 5 years. And that is go to bed early. Go to bed earlier than you currently do. Now, if you're already going to bed at 8 or 9 p.m. at night, good for you. I wouldn't suggest much earlier than that, depending on your schedule. But certainly, if you're going to bed at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, as I used to, going to bed early can be transformational, not just because of the waking up early piece, which is an important part. If you're going to bed early, you want to get up early as well. But it's also you're getting more time to sleep. You're getting better quality sleep as a result of that. You're working within what your body is used to, your biorhythms. And so what's really critical is that you're training yourself to go to bed at a specific time. You're getting into that routine. And as a result of that, you're able to create a cycle that works more for your body. Now, sometimes people will push back and say, well, oh, and there's certain cases where you're dealing with like an owl versus a lark, right? People who tend to work better in the evening than they do in the morning. But most of the research suggests that if we can go to bed early and we can get a good night's sleep and we can wake up early, that tends to be really good for our overall function. If, in other words, we match what's going on outside in terms of the light and dark schedules, that's optimal for us. Now, I know some people will work shift hours. Some people work different hours depending on what day it is. I know it's not always possible. But whatever your normal time for going to bed is, if you can just bring it back a half an hour, I'm telling you, it'll make a really wonderful difference. The third tiny shift that will change your life if you do it regularly over the next year is to stop black and white thinking. Now, the last episode that we talked about was about how to avoid self-delusion. So there's plenty of stuff that I've talked about on the podcast before about avoiding this black and white thinking, but I can't emphasize it enough. The media and social media are very quick to divide us and polarize us. And they do it simply because they create these echo chambers whereby the only thing you see on one channel is this narrative, or the only thing you see in this Facebook group or with this group of friends or with these people is this narrative. And the more we're just exposing ourselves to this narrative, the more we cultivate and create a world that doesn't exist. The more we blind ourselves and delude ourselves into thinking this is how things are, this is what's right, this is what's wrong. And that's really problematic because it means we fail to empathize with others, we fail to understand others, we fail to even try. And we instead lock ourselves into our own one-dimensional points of view. Many years ago, when I went to North Korea, and in fact, when I came back, people all said to me, oh my goodness, it must have been crazy for you to experience all of that propaganda. My response was, well, in North Korea, they had one point of view that was allowed. But in most other countries, you only have two, right? You have the narrative of the mainstream media, and then you've got the opposite, which is like the mainstream media is the devil and whatnot. So you've got 2 points of view about most topics, whether that's COVID, whatever it is. And so what we need to do is realize that this whole notion that everything can be divided into 2 categories is convenient, is easy, but it's not accurate. The world is gray. We live in the middle. And the more we fall into the trap of making everything black and white, the more it's easy for our brains to do, but it's not useful for us because we lack the nuance to be able to make more well-informed decisions. And that's problematic because in the areas of our life, when we're talking about things that actually impact our personal life, we can make erroneous decisions because we're buying into one side versus another. We can fall into a camp of convincing ourselves that this is the way it is, or I'm totally wrong and the opposite way is actually how things are. This is problematic and we need to do something about this. So in order for us to be able to handle that, we need to learn to live in the gray. And that means challenging your own thinking, challenging your own assumptions, and practicing some of the stuff that we talked about in last week's episode. Number 4 is do gratitude journaling. So again, this is an obvious enough one that I'm sure you've heard of before. Gratitude journaling, the way I recommend it, is every morning you take some time for about a few minutes or so where you write 3 specific things that you feel grateful for. And preferably, they should be people or pets. Beings that we're grateful for, preferably. But what you want to do is write 3 specific situations. So it's not just I feel grateful for my parents, I feel grateful for my friends, I feel grateful for my dog. It should be I feel grateful for the way my dog gets excited. in this specific context or situation. I feel grateful for my mom's home cooked meals or whatever it is, but you're being specific about the things you feel grateful for. When you do that, you're actually working off real things, and there's an endless supply of them. So it's easy to come up with them, and you're training yourself to start to notice that more in your everyday life. So you start to really pay more attention to things that you have, be more abundant in your own way of thinking, and you start to see things that you can appreciate a lot more. So doing gratitude journaling has been shown to be one of the best things you can do for your happiness and for your resilience. Certainly something I highly recommend to do on a daily basis. Next, number 5, every day, do something good for you that you don't want to do. Do something good for you that you don't want to do. That could be run the extra half a mile. Could be do those extra push-ups. Could be force yourself to do something that you're not in the mood to do. You push yourself to do it. Why do I say that? Because what the research shows is that there's a part of your brain, a part of what we call the ACC, the anterior cingulate cortex, which when you activate it, it actually expands, it gets bigger, but it's almost like a resource of willpower. Now, it's not that we have a certain amount of willpower. There's been a lot of debate about whether or not willpower is a finite resource or not, but we become better at being resilient, better at being tenacious, better at being able to exert our will when we practice it. So the more that we activate this part of our brain, the stronger we're able to take the actions we want to. In other words, the more you do stuff that you don't like, the easier it is that you'll find yourself being able to do stuff that you don't like. And a lot of the stuff that you don't like that's good for you is stuff that you don't feel like doing. So when you don't like something, but you know it's good for you, try to take some time every single day to do that thing. Now, catch is, if it's good for you, but you're getting used to it or you enjoy it, that doesn't count. That's still good to do. I'm still suggesting to do that. But I'm talking about something, could even be a little extra, doing the kinds of thing that you normally do. You push yourself a little bit more than you would normally do. By doing so, you build up, let's say, as a metaphor, let's call it a muscle, this muscle that makes it so that you're a lot stronger in willing yourself to take the actions you need to moving forward. So by the time, if you do this every day for a year, my goodness, the amount of willpower you'll have built, the amount of tenacity you will have built will be insane. Next, bet on yourself more. This means believe in yourself, bet in yourself, guess that you can do whatever it is that you set your mind to, gamble that you can put in all of your efforts, all of your energy. If I just take this action, I think I can succeed here. Believe in yourself and bet on yourself. So often we hold ourselves back because we fear failing or we're worried about what will happen if things don't work out the way we want them to. But guess that things will work out. Bet on yourself, put yourself up against it, challenge yourself, and be okay with making a mistake, be okay with failing. When you can do that, you continuously grow, you continuously develop, you continuously find yourself reaching the next level. So bet on yourself more and give yourself more challenges. Don't just make things easy for yourself. The more you step up, the more you'll start to reach the sky. The next is create an attention budget. This means looking for all of the places and all the areas in which you put your attention on something. So in other words, where does your attention go? We oftentimes will have a sort of a schedule that we set for ourselves in terms of where our time goes, but where does your attention go? Where do you place your attention? And this means you go on the internet, or social media, for example, but what are you doing on social media? Are you watching videos of dogs and cats that make you smile? Are you watching comedians that make you laugh? Or are you reading posts that aggravate you, that get you super angry? Are you posting keyboard warrior style, all the things you want to tell people? Are you insulting other people and then insulting you back? What are you spending your time with? What are you spending your attention on? And recognizing where your attention goes also means when you do watch TV or you do watch movies or you do turn on the TV, what are you paying attention to? What are your conversations with your friends or family about? Where does your attention go? Because remember, whatever you input, whatever you take in, whatever your attention is placed on, that's what you're taking in. And just like Zig Ziglar, I think, used the metaphor of if you eat junk food, then don't expect your body to be healthy. And if you take in junk information, don't expect your mind to be healthy. I'm going to paraphrase that a bit from him. But The idea itself makes a lot of sense. If you're putting your attention on things that disempower you or things that exhaust you or things that make you feel bad, don't wonder why you're feeling that way. It's because where you're putting your attention. And so when you create an attention budget, what you're doing is you're allocating your attention towards the kinds of things that you want to spend more time taking in. And by doing so, can transform your experience of the world. It really can, because you're placing your attention on the things that matter more. Even when you do your gratitude journaling, that's you placing your attention on the things that matter more. The next thing to do is to schedule in fun time. When you're scheduling your 2024, schedule in all the things you're looking forward to. So what I recommend you do is when you look at the year ahead and you look at your annual planner, have a look at where are all the birthdays there of the people that are closest to you, the ones that you'll be celebrating with them. Start with your own birthday and then the birthdays of those people in your life that you care about. What holidays have you already planned, or when do you normally take holidays or vacation? And what can you start to plan for there? One of the holidays is in the actual days off, the bank holidays or the independent holidays or the various different country holidays that you know that you'll have time off work for. Try to look through all of the things that you can slot in some fun activities for. You can ensure that you're celebrating the great moments or any sporting events that are coming up. If the World Cup is coming up or the European Championship is coming up or the Olympics is coming up, you do this any year that you're preparing for. You prepare for whatever it is that you're going to look forward to. Maybe you can check out your favorite artists, your favorite musicians, or your favorite authors might be releasing a new book. Whatever is it that you love, start to think through what are all of the great things to look forward to in the next year and plan them out before you slot in all of the work, before you do anything else. Give yourself all of these things that you lock in first and foremost, so that if work comes along, great, you're focusing on slotting that in when it needs to be slotted in, but you're prioritizing the stuff that you want to prioritize, which is the fun stuff, the quality time with family, the bucket list items, what we call the experience goals that you might have for yourself. So start with scheduling in fun time. And then finally, embrace self-honesty. This is one of the single best things that you can do for your life, is that decide once and for all that you're going to be honest with yourself. Now, you know that if you make a promise to someone and then you don't carry it through, you'll be known as unreliable and people will cease to trust you. People will think to themselves, well, they're not honest about what they were able to do. The same is true when we talk to ourselves. So whenever you say to yourself you're going to do something, get into the habit of actually doing it. Become the kind of person that when you say to yourself you're going to do something, you actually do it. You actually take that action. When you start to be honest with yourself like that, and you do what it is that you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it, and you keep those promises to yourself, you embrace self-honesty, you're going to become formidable, because you're going to be the kind of person that whenever you decide you're going to make a change, you're going to make the change. Whenever you decide you're going to pursue a particular goal, you're going to pursue that goal. You're going to be the kind of person that you commit and you achieve. And as you start to build that skill, you become the kind of person that other people want to be around. Why? Because you make things happen. But the only way we make things happen is when we not just plan what to do, but we execute what to do. And what makes you better at execution is when you decide to keep those promises to yourself, to decide whatever it is that you say you're going to do to you, you're going to follow through on. Not just keep your word to others, keep your word to yourself. The more honest you are, the more self-aware you are, the more aware you are of exactly where you are and where you need to be, the more likely you are to be able to close that gap. And that's a technique known as mental contrasting. If you're setting yourself a goal, keep continuously comparing, where are you? Where do you need to be? Where are you? Where do you need to be? Both pieces are important because that contrasting identifies the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And therefore it motivates you and helps you take the actions you need to go from where you are to where you ultimately want to end. Very, very important. So just let me give you a sort of a summary of the 9 tiny shifts you can make today that will help you to have a different life over the course of the next year. First of all, set up dopamine spoilers. Think about any bad habit you have and figure out how can you add more friction? How can you make it harder for you to execute that? How can you make it less enjoyable to engage in whatever those temptations are? Number 2, go to bed earlier. Also, get up earlier, but go to bed earlier, even if it's only half an hour. It'll make a positive difference. Stop black and white thinking. Live in the gray. Recognize that not one way or the other way. There's usually a nuanced perspective with a lot more information. Do gratitude journaling every single day about 3 specific things or people or pets that you feel grateful for. Every day, do something good for you that you don't want to do. Get into the habit of building a discipline muscle so that you are improving your tenacity and becoming better at taking the actions you need to, regardless of how you feel about it. Bet on yourself more. Go for more things. Challenge yourself. Set incredible goals that stretch you. Push for it and just take action. Create an attention budget. Make sure you're spending time and, most importantly, spending your attention on something that makes you better, on something that makes you feel good, not on the many things that can drain your energy. Number 8, schedule in fun time. So when you look at your calendar for 2024, plan out all the birthdays, all the holidays, all the vacations, everything fun that you can imagine, all the big events that you're looking forward to. Plan it all out so you can be ready for it. And finally, embrace self-honesty. Do what you promise to yourself that you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. When you make these 9 tiny shifts, this is going to give you the opportunity to make a gigantic change over the course of a year. If you do this regularly, these are small things to do, but if you do them regularly, you won't recognize a lot of the changes you've made. You won't recognize yourself a year from now in terms of the changes that you will have made. So I hope this makes sense. I hope you're able to make these tiny changes happen. If you do decide to come on the Change Your Minds monthly membership, would love to have you. Please do check it out. owenfitzpatrick.com/CMM or changeyourminds.com/monthly. Would love to have you in the membership. But regardless, please do make these 9 tiny shifts. And I look forward to hearing how you get on. Please let me know on Instagram. Let me know on Facebook. Let me know on LinkedIn, wherever it is that you come across my stuff on social media. Reach out, say hi, let me know how you're doing. But for now, take care, be well. May the force continue to be with you, and may you continue not just to believe, but to believe better. Bye for now.